Sometimes perfection has to strike twice. Because I already filmed this episode and I wasn't happy with it. So I guess you know what? This time will be perfect. Today, we're going to be talking about vehicle wraps. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Why do I always say that? Welcome back, men and more gentlemen. If you are new here, this is Between Two Cars, where I yap about car-related topics, give in-depth opinions and advice, and it's unedited, raw, unfiltered. I don't say anything like heinous or anything like that. It's just an excuse for me to be lazy. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about car wraps. I have my notes right here that I want to talk about. There are good car wraps, there are bad car wraps, there are wraps that work on certain vehicles and wraps that work on none. Today we will be talking about those things. My opinions, what I recommend, different brands maybe if I remember. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So let's imagine you're new to the car scene and you don't know what a vehicle wrap is or what vinyl wrapping is. Vinyl wrapping a vehicle essentially is an easier way to change a vehicle's color than painting. To paint a vehicle, you would have to sand, prep, bodywork, paint, mask off, all this fun stuff that nobody wants to do, and it would cost thousands of dollars to do correctly. Wrapping a vehicle can range from $1,500 to $10,000 depending on what you want done exactly, what the vehicle is, the material, again, how complicated of a job it is. The harder the material is to work with, the more expensive they're going to charge you. The more expensive the material will be. Chrome wraps are one of those. We will talk about those in a bit. But let's start with the basics. Wrap finishes. A wrap finish is the appearance of the wrap material when it's applied to a vehicle. So the reflectiveness. If it's gloss, if it's matte, if it's satin, if it's some sort of texture, if it's like a carbon wrap. Those are different types of finishes. The basic ones are matte or flat. Those two are kind of interchangeable. Satin, gloss, super gloss, and that's pretty much it for like the straightforward different types of finishes. A matte or flat wrap is a dull wrap. It is the least reflective. It is not going to show your body in it. Like if you look at this panel, you could see my hands reflecting off of it because this is a super gloss material and that looks like paint. See that? A satin or a matte wrap will not do that. Those are going to be dull, like this wing right here. This is a satin wrap. I will show you guys up close what that looks like. Satin, gloss. Satin, gloss. You could see the lights disappear, hopefully. I don't know if I recorded that good. Anyways, a matte wrap will be even more dull than a satin wrap. So typically, nobody does matte wraps anymore. I would not recommend doing a matte wrap. Not only can fewer cars pull off matte and satin wraps, but matte wraps look the cheapest. In my opinion, they look the tackiest. They look like a rattle can paint job. They look dull. They don't look expensive. They're pretty much dead. I would not recommend doing a matte wrap. Satin is like a semi-gloss. There's a little bit more shine to it, a little bit more depth. Like I'm looking at it right here. I could see the lights, but it's very, very fuzzy, and it's just more of a different way to break up the finish of the super gloss. So satin wraps, more cars can pull off, but in my opinion, your car has to be pretty aggressive looking to pull off a satin wrap, a full satin wrap that is. If you're wrapping a wing or a roof or a hood, you could probably get away with it. But let's use my Mark IV Supra as an example. It's a cool car. One would say it's one of the greatest. But yeah, I don't think it would be able to pull off a satin wrap. Satin wraps need eccentric body lines, exaggerated, good body lines. It needs good body lines to help show off the vehicle. The Mark IV Supra is a fat, bloated fish. It doesn't look that cool. I mean, it is a cool looking car, but it doesn't have aggressive body lines like a G80 or an S550 or S650 or a Challenger. Doesn't have those aggressive, hard body lines. This sort of does. The C6 kind of does, but that's just because it's a ZR1. It has a little bit more ducting going on, a little bit more going on. I still wouldn't really recommend a satin wrap, even on a car like this. But a muscle car or a European car, you're probably safe for a satin wrap. Most JDM cars, probably not. I'm thinking Civic would look very tacky. Miata would look very tacky. WRX, the newer ones, yeah, I could see like the ones for the last like 5 or 10 years, I think could. Evo 10s as well, maybe even Evo 8s and Evo 9s. Those kind of have more aggressive body lines, but the typical JDM import, probably not. They're a little bit more curvy, a little bit more economy looking. I just wouldn't recommend a satin wrap on those. Gloss wraps work on everything. You can never go wrong with a gloss or a super gloss. The difference is super glosses are something fairly new. They pretty much just mimic paint a whole lot better. This is a super gloss, so if I actually disconnect the camera really quick, I'll show you guys what I mean. This is totally going to be kind of ugly because I have to unscrew it from my tripod, but I'll show you guys what I mean just because I'm going to go in a little bit more detail for this video. So this is a super gloss, so you can see my hand reflecting in it. It's not perfect because of just the way that this color is, but like my Supra, which was or is behind that door, it is a soul red color. You could see like the outline of the lights right there, crisp as ever. Different colors will have different, I guess, depths of what they can reflect, but a super gloss will just look a whole lot more like paint. Like you could see, I mean, that looks like paint. Looking at paint, you could see that looks like paint. You see what I'm saying here? It's more reflective, just like the, you know, super gloss wrap. But that's what super gloss. Now over here, I'm gonna be off frame for a second. There, I have a scrap piece of wrap from the McLaren when it was wrapped gloss midnight purple. And I'll show you guys that because it's a little different. So this is just gloss, okay? Still is shiny, but if I peel back the protective film and we look at it, it looks good on camera, but in person it's a lot more dull than like that. There's also a lot more orange peel. Typically anything with a paper backing is going to have that. So if you find a wrap material and they say it's PET lined, that's going to give you that super gloss finish that you want. So anything PET linered, sorry, I'm choking right now. That's going to give you the finish you want. Let me get back into frame really quick. But yes, super glosses or glosses in general are pretty much safe for any vehicle. I can't imagine a car looking back with a gloss wrap or gloss color unless you just picked an ugly fucking color, which you definitely can do, but that's all up to personal preference. Who cares about that? We're not going to talk anything about colors today, just about wraps. So, summarizing what I just said really quick, mattes, stay away from. Satins, certain aggressive cars can pull off. Glosses, always are safe. Thumbs up. Gloss wraps, nobody's ever going to hate on a gloss wrap. Okay, now let's talk about different types of wraps or wrap jobs. You have the camo wrap job. A camo wrap job is typically a way to make your car look like a gun from Call of Duty. The most popular one is kind of like the woodland camo. I think Young Dolph, I could be wrong, no disrespect. I believe he is the one that had all of his cars wrapped like a woodland camo. Typically, you pick a matte or a satin for a camo wrap because, well, that's how it would be on a weapon, so it makes the most sense. You don't want a super shiny weapon, you know, it just doesn't make sense. So a matte or a satin for those, 100% makes sense if you're doing that. There are different types of camo wraps. So there's the professional camo wrap, which is they wrap your whole vehicle and they put on either splotches or it's printed into the wrap itself, and that's how you are supposed to do it. The unprofessional way is, let's say you have a black car or a white car or a red car, and then you just throw on splotches of different colors, but still leaving your paint exposed in areas to work as if it's like a fully covered car. So if this was, you know, a cheap camo wrap job on my ZR1, you would have a splotch of black right here, a splotch of white, some more splotches of black, but the blue would be everything in between. Don't do that. 100% do not do that. Horrible idea. Never looks good. Not only does it never look good because you're throwing wrap material and paint right next to each other, which never looks good, but you're going to destroy your paint. When you go to remove the wrapped areas, they are going to stand out in a good way, like a sore thumb, because they have been protected from the sun and from the elements, and they are going to be nice and shiny. The rest of your car is going to have slightly more swirls, slightly more sun damage. Just don't do it. If you're going to wrap your car camo-wise, which again, I think if it's on the right vehicle, they could pull it off. If you're going to do it the correct way. Wrap the whole vehicle and then go over it with splotches. So if you wanted a woodland camo, wrap the whole car black or wrap the whole car green and then go over it with splotches. Whatever your base color is, wrap the whole vehicle. Do not have paint exposed. You'll thank me later. Let's keep going. Sorry, my notes closed. Camo, yes, you can do it. Just do it right. Anime. I'm not going to talk much about anime wraps. I don't like them. I've never looked into them. I don't recommend doing them. I think they're corny. I think they're lame and they're cringe. And I just can't imagine you pulling a girl and picking her up with an anime chick on the side of your car with giant knockers. Can't imagine a girl wanting to go on a date with you with that. So just don't do that. Let's just avoid that. Partial wraps. Partial wraps, just like the splotchy camo wrap, the poverty camo wrap, just like that, partial wraps are equally as bad if you leave your paint exposed. It's very popular for people to do a half wrap. They will have a white car or a black car and then choose white or black to wrap one half of the car. So let's say this whole Corvette was white. I would get a split right down the middle and then wrap this side black. So one side of the car is white, one side of the car is black. Like I just said, leaving paint exposed, very bad idea. When you go to remove it, that whole side has now been more sun damaged, more cooked, more swirled up, and it's not going to look good. I don't even think you can polish out sun damage. So just don't do it. I'm not a detailer. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Maybe somebody's had good luck with it. Just don't. If you're going to do a partial wrap, do it correctly. Either PPF the side that you're not wrapping or wrap it a different color. So if you really want a two-tone car or a two-color car, then wrap that side red, wrap this side black. Wrap that side white, wrap this side black. Do something to protect the paint. The whole point of wrapping your car is to change the color and protect the paint. And that doesn't work if you leave half of it exposed. So partial wraps, don't recommend unless you wrap or protect the other side. I know it's super nitpicky. You could do whatever you want. I'm just trying to give you guys advice and some consequences that might happen if you don't. I really don't care what you do to your car. I'm not going to cry or lose sleep over it. Just do what you want, but just do it and know the consequences. That's what I'm here to do. Partial wraps, I think, can look cool. I've seen people do it and they look pretty sick. So do what you want, you know, doesn't matter, but just protect your paint. Okay, glitter wraps. I don't know who the fuck genuinely buys glitter wraps for their car. I've seen them at car meets, and the only people I've ever seen with glitter wraps are people that work for the wrap companies. If you are genuinely just want a glitter wrapped car, do it, I guess, but I wouldn't for a number of reasons. One, I can't imagine that it's going to last all that long. Two, it's going to be a fingerprint magnet for everybody at car meets. They're all going to touch your car, and I have seen this because every car that I've seen glitter wrapped will have a splotch for people to touch if they are curious. So that goes to show that people care and want to touch your car so bad that they will touch it, and you have to provide a splotch for them to touch. I don't see the appeal of it. I've never seen a glitter wrapped car and thought, wow, that looks sick. I want to do that to my car, but I guess everyone has different tastes. So do whatever you want with that information. I doubt anybody watching this video clicked on it and was waiting for my opinion on glitter wraps. But there it is. Tron. Okay. Hot take. I like Tron wraps. I think a Tron wrap can be well done. If you don't know what a Tron wrap is, if this is before your time, youngins, a Tron wrap is a wrap based around the video game / movie series Tron, where you kind of highlight the body lines on your vehicle, typically with reflective tape. So at night, when lights shine on your car, it is glowing with the reflective tape, accentuating the body lines. That's how the vehicles in the Tron world look. And so people do it to their cars, some with great success, some with no success. I think on the right vehicle, it could be dope. I think it would be sick as fuck. to see a Tron wrapped like twin turbo Lamborghini or something, or even a Mustang, and then like he cuts off his lights while he's racing away or something. Like it could be sick. But most of the time it's like NPC cars doing it, and then they do it with like cheap material, and I just do what you want again, but it's not going to look good on every car, obviously. So again, hot take, I like it, but again, it has to be on the right car. Just like everything else in this world, it has to be on the right build. But let me know your thoughts on Tron Wraps. Would a Tron Wrap be something cool to do? I don't know. I wouldn't do it, I think, to any of my cars. But at the same time, if this technology has come far enough to where it's super low key and you can't even tell up until the lights are shining on it, might not be that bad of an idea, It might not look that bad. But let me know your thoughts down below. What else, though? Character wraps. This is probably the nerdiest thing you can do. I love Star Wars. I love superheroes. I love Transformers. But I would never characterize my car based on one of them. I wouldn't make my car a Spider-Man car, or a Batman car, or a Deadpool car, or a clone trooper car. But everybody and their mama, for some reason, likes to do those things. Again, it's your car. You can do whatever you want. But when I see big-ass graphics of like Tron on the side, not Tron, my bad, Deadpool or Wonder Woman on the side of a car, it's kind of cringe. It's my own opinion. You don't have to accept it, but you have to respect it. I don't like it. I don't know how expensive that type of shit is. I'm sure it's not cheap because everything has to match up and work, but I've just never been a big fan of it. The one I did like, I think Mike had a Carnage wrapped C5 or C6, and that one was pretty cool, but his car had the shit to back it up. Most of the time, whenever I see these character wrapped vehicles, it's a stock car or a car on bags, and it's just not that cool. If your shit has power to back it up, I think you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want. But yeah, if your selling point of your vehicle is it's wrapped, that's pretty boring. That's pretty lame. So, my opinion, don't get triggered. Don't get triggered. But yeah. Now let's talk about some different brands. So, if you're wrapping by yourself, couple brands I would recommend just to get the feel of it are 3M and Avery. 3M and Avery, they are both typically thinner than most other materials. They don't have super gloss finishes for the most part, I believe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Talking to my wrap guy, that's the vibe I got. But their material is thinner. They've been around far longer than most other competitors, and it's typically easier to work with. This wing is wrapped in Avery. I wrapped this myself. It is so thin. I had never wrapped with anything that thin before. It honestly felt way different because this is Perfection Global, and it is my buddy's brand, and it is much thicker. It is a super gloss, so it has to be thicker because it has that finish on it. But just the difference in thickness, it's probably half as thin, the Avery. Again, it is a satin, so it doesn't have that super gloss, but it is also easier to work with. I wrapped this wing with, I think, no heat. I don't think I needed heat for any of it. I might have used heat for the corners just to get them to stretch and overlap and tuck, but you could probably wrap most of a car with Avery in a satin finish with minimal heat. The heat is still recommended to obviously get the adhesive to stick, but I'm talking with most other wrap companies like TinyBot, Esmo, Perfection, and Ozatec, these thicker wrap companies, you're going to need heat to push it into these grooves and get it to conform to the body and shrink to the car. Satin, or 3M and Avery satin, I should say, you probably don't need anywhere near as much heat. So, yeah. If you're looking to just wrap a roof or wrap a hood or a wing or something, 3M or Avery probably has you covered with a satin wrap. It's probably more expensive, but they've, once again, been around much longer, so you're paying for that expertise and their craftsmanship. I don't know, their quality. I don't know how I want to word it, because I've used other wrap companies. So the first time I ever wrapped a car, I used Vivid, And this was years ago. It was when this car was wrapped orange. And I had a fucking miserable time. They sent me the roll. It was sponsored. The car looked good. But literally every day after I wrapped it, I had to touch something up. Now, I wrapped it a little bit different than when I wrapped it with this material, and I'll explain that, but whether it was my side skirt peeling a little bit, or my hood peeling, or my fender peeling, or my quarter panel peeling, something was peeling on that car every day up until I removed it. So I would not recommend them based on that one experience. Things could have changed. It's been many years, but still, I wouldn't recommend Vivid. When I wrapped the car with Vivid, I did most of the panels in one piece. So this hood that I wrapped this time around, I did it in 5 pieces because I didn't want to have any issues. I'll take off the camera to now show you guys. So if we walk over to the hood, when I first wrapped this in Vivid, it was one piece from that edge to that edge. And the wrap had to fucking get tucked into this corner, which is 3.5 or 4 inches deep. So it was a lot of stretching the material, which is why it failed. This time around, I did it in 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, and then on the other side, 4, 5. You get what I'm saying? It's 5 pieces. If I would have done the Vivid like this, I'm sure it would have held up better, but I've had 0 issues with this material, and the finish is way better than the Vivid. You can actually see the reflection of the door right there. So that's how I wrapped it this time around. I did way more seams where they were needed, but I didn't go overkill. Like this is one piece, 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 this is all one piece back here. The trunk is 2 pieces hidden by the wing. The bumper is 3 pieces or 4. There's a seam right here on the edge, which you can't tell because I hit it perfectly. And then I did fail down at the bottom and actually do one seam like that. But that was just because bumpers are hard. The front bumper, for the most part, is one piece besides the inlays in the ducts. But I didn't mess up on the front bumper because I had Cali Auto Design help me. With Vivid, though, I had nothing but issues, and I didn't like it overall. The material was way thicker. It had shitty adhesive on it, and it didn't stick. So, yes. Now, after that, I wrapped... what other car? I think I wrapped Alma's 3-valve. Her and I wrapped it with Tech Wrap. I don't even know if they're still around, but it was essentially an Inazitech clone. One thing I'm going to tell you, and this is something that the wrap companies don't want you to know, is all of the wraps come from pretty much the same factories. So if you see wraps in person, you're not going to be able to tell which wrap is which. You can't, unless it's just a color that that company specifically makes. If that's a super gloss, they're all gonna look the same. The Tech Wrap looked identical to the Inazitech that I had on the Supra, and the Inazitech and the Tech Wrap looked identical to the Esmo that I had on the Supra, and all of them all look like the Perfection. They all look the same. They all come from the same places. So besides 3M and Avery, they all come from the same places. So yeah, the Tech Wrap was easy like this. We then did Tiny Bot on Brian's IS300. We wrapped that car. Tiny Bot was just as easy as Tech Wrap and Perfection. They were all pretty easy. I will say, maybe it's just from experience of having done a few cars before I did this one. The Perfection was easier than most, and that's not just because like I am sponsored. I'm sponsored by them and I'm sponsored by Esmo. But maybe it's just from experience. Maybe I'm just getting more used to it, but it was pretty easy to wrap this car. I didn't really have any hiccups besides the bumper. So yeah. Besides that though, yeah, most companies sell all the same shit. So just look for a PET linered super gloss and you'll be good. You'll be golden. Let's talk about one though that you should never do, never attempt, and just don't even do it. Chrome wraps, don't do it. Don't do a chrome wrap. We're gonna finish out with this. Chrome wraps, they are the hardest to install, they are the hardest to maintain, and they never look good. Don't do chrome wraps. Don't do it. Never do it. I don't see the point of it. Do not do chrome wraps. You will thank me later. Chrome wraps, like everything I just said, that's more expensive. It's harder to install. The finish is never good. And just don't. Just don't. It's not going to look like you think it is. You might think, dude, it'd be sick if this looked like a fully polished Mustang and it's super reflective. It's not, because you're going to see all the different stretch marks and the waves in it. It's just don't. I've seen a few chrome wraps in person. Don't. Don't do it. Don't. But yeah, I think that pretty much summarizes everything. Pick out a color that suits your car. I wouldn't recommend going crazy because it's a cop magnet then. And is that the spider? Am I going to cookie right now? I might. It's a cop magnet. When I wrapped this orange, the first day I wrapped it, I got pulled over for doing absolutely nothing. I had a bright orange Mustang. It was a cop magnet. That's why I chose a very subtle color on this car. Even though a lot of people think this is an ugly color, it's like a pewter silver champagne color. Even though a lot of people think it's ugly, that's kind of the point. I want it to look like nothing special, so the police don't mess with me. That is quite literally the point. I want it to look like a basic color. It's different than basic, but I want it to look basic. So that's my justification for wrapping this. So pick a color that looks good on your car. Don't pick something too flashy. Don't pick pink if you're a TikTok girl. Don't be that cookie cutter. Yeah, just have fun. You know, it's not a permanent thing. If you want to do it yourself, play around with it. You know, yeah, it's a little bit of a gamble because if you mess up, yeah, you are spending like $500-ish or more on material, but it's really not that hard. Have some patience. Don't stress it. Heat is usually the answer when it comes to getting it to form to a panel. You'd be surprised on how much you can stretch this material without it messing up. So just do what you can. Anyways, hopefully I helped you guys out. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just yapped a little bit too much. Let me know your thoughts down below if I missed on any of these topics or if you have any more questions. Maybe I'll cover it in another episode. Anyway, subscribe. And until next rant, deuces.